Hey, what's going on guys, it's Dr. Apolly, and today we're going to be talking about talent versus hard work. There's been a lot of discussion about this lately in the Smash community. I have a lot of experience with this sort of stuff, and I did make like an esports improvement thing, and this stuff, talent versus hard work, did come up a few times, so hopefully I can give you guys a different perspective, some new insight on the topic. Okay, so I don't really know why we're having this conversation, if I'm being honest with you. I've come across some people who have been saying that talent more or less doesn't really exist, and I don't really think that's true. There's definitely some talent that goes into being a top player in Smash Bros. MKLeo, I believe, won his first tournament when he was 10. I could get a whole group of 10-year-olds to be coached by the top coaches, the top players, the best of the best, and I guarantee you that maybe one of the 50 billion of them will win a tournament. That's an exaggeration, of course, but it's definitely true that MKLeo had some sort of affinity to be good in Smash Bros. Some people are simply more adaptable, more creative, better at finding patterns, better at solving problems, etc. There's definitely some innate talent to this, but we just don't know to what degree it really helps. Mango became a god after less than a year of playing Melee. Even though he was playing Puff and the skill level back then was obviously a lot lower, he definitely had some talent above everyone else that made him improve quicker. Processing speed is actually one of the parts of an IQ test. I've taken an IQ test, two times actually, once in 8th grade, once in 12th grade if I remember correctly. How quickly you're able to process and analyze information, like that's part of the IQ test. And of course that part of the IQ test, as well as every other part of the test, varies a lot from person to person. Now I'm talking about raw intelligence here, but your intelligence quotient, your IQ, your raw IQ can't really change all that much no matter how hard you work. When I took the exact same test from 8th grade to 12th grade, my IQ only went up a few points despite focusing on making ever more complex videos, reading a ton, doing a ton of research, increasing my crystallized knowledge, which is just like your basic, like the amount of facts that you know, increasing my vocabulary, and clearly becoming a lot smarter overall. If you're a long-time subscriber of mine, you have probably seen this happen. My full-scale IQ only went up about like 4 or 5 points. This is to say that you can refine what you have and make the most out of what you have, but as I'll explain later, this stuff is pretty set in stone and it's highly genetic. I can try my damned hardest, but if my IQ is only a 75, I'm not gonna be a doctor. Like, not gonna be a real doctor, unlike my fake doctor title. Now obviously, the IQ test that I used from the psychologist can't be one-to-one translated into Smash, but it does give us insight as to how much our baseline cognitive abilities can change. I know I'm talking in a lot of theoreticals, but at the moment at least, I just don't think we have a way to really assess this. I think most people understand that there's some level of talent. I don't think it's 70% like Best Nest said, but I think we can all acknowledge that there's some people who are just naturally gifted at things, and that should not disclude Smash. Now, back on the IQ topic, I did do some research and I found that the average chess player has an IQ of 120. People are comparing esports to chess. I don't really think it's a very good comparison. They aren't really all that correlated, but I'm just using this as an example to prove that your general intelligence can manifest in different ways that aren't just school related. In this study, it showed that their visual spatial skills were especially strong. According to Google, your visual spatial ability is your ability to imagine objects, to make global shapes by locating small components, or to understand the differences and similarities between objects. So with that in mind, there's probably some tests we can use to sort of assess how well your general abilities would be correlated into Smash. Oh yeah, just to give you reference, the average IQ for a human is 100, but then the average IQ for a chess player is 120, so they're clearly above average. Now, we don't know the average IQ for a Smash player, but I can almost guarantee you that a lot of the top players have a higher quotient than the average player in some specific areas. I've taken IQ tests and they measure a whole breadth of topics. I won't share my results, but there were some facets of the IQ test that I did extremely well on, and some I did very bad in. Another thing that we can test, and I think we all know this, is your reaction speed. You could probably make a whole video just on reaction speed if you looked hard enough. But yeah, the way that would help you in esports is pretty obvious. I've actually wanted to make a whole discussion about genetics and gaming for a while, but obviously, as I'm alluding to in this video, I don't think there's enough research or data done on it yet. I want to know what specific areas that pro gamers excel at, and not just their reaction speed, of course, but their ability to problem solve, their ability to adapt, their ability to find patterns, their ability to navigate and coordinate specific areas, their ability to multitask. Maybe they can focus on different things really quickly, they can shift attention really quickly. Maybe, again, like I said before with the processing speed, maybe they just process information and analyze it quicker than the average person. I'll say this again, of course it can be trained, but no one in their right mind is going to say that no one is naturally better at some of these things I mentioned than others. Now, I've actually experienced some of this firsthand. My brother and I both played Smash 4 a ton when it first came out, but he was always one step ahead of me. In fact, I feel like it was just like every video game we played, he was just like a step ahead of me. We played the game for a similar amount of time for the first couple of months, we just played against each other really. So of course we had the same training regime, but again, he was always just a step ahead of me. Now obviously, there's a lot of flaws with just using this story as my basis for my assessment. First of all, we were both beginners, obviously. Second of all, the matchup just might be different at different levels of play. For reference, I think I was playing Sheik back then and he was playing Sonic. Maybe he was only beating me because he was using just a few tactics that I couldn't get past. Maybe he wasn't actually better than me and he was just spamming. Like, there's a lot of ways to explain this. But on the other hand, maybe he is more creative and better at baiting and whatnot than I am. Also, creativity can actually be measured to some extent. We did this in my psychology class actually. Just ask someone like, name everything you can do with a book. Well, you can read it, you can maybe use it as a stool, maybe use it as a stand, maybe you could lift it if it's really heavy, use it as some weight, you could use it as a fan if it's paperback, etc. With that in mind, I can of course apply that to Smash and say, oh, how do you use Luigi's Fireball? And I just say, oh, you use it to press B and use Fireball to hit people. But now of course, what if I use Fireball to bait you into shielding and grabbing? What if I use it to B-reverse and mix up my landing one time? Like, you can see how this can be translated into Smash. There are also other intangibles like your clutch factor, your ability to work under pressure, and those type of things. Some people are just more anxious, some people are just more confident, etc. You remember Trella from Smash 4? That guy was like top 50 in the world, but people said he was like top 10 in friendlies. Same with Mewtwo King, people said that he played really bad under pressure. Again, obviously you can train this stuff, but some people are just better at these intangibles than others. Okay, I'm sorry, this conversation is going all over the place. I've studied this stuff a lot in school actually, I'm taking some psychology courses. And of course, I've taken 2 psychologically diagnosed IQ tests before. Now, I don't want to give off the impression that you're doomed to fail if you have bad genetics. I was just kind of spitballing and ranting for a bit, I'm sorry about that. Hard work is still the most important thing that determines your success in virtually every area of life. Even with the worst genetics, you could probably make top 200 or top 100 with enough hard work. I think it was Kevin Durant who said something along the lines of, hard work beats talent when talent fails to work hard. And this is true. You don't understand how little Smashers actually practice compared to pro players of other esports. Again, I've looked into this stuff a lot more than I probably should have, but like I've seen those League players, those CSGO players, and hell, even those Fortnite players, and they work 5 times harder than every Smash player. With the exception of maybe the top players like Leffen, Zero, and Armada, when Armada was playing, these guys played like 8-9 hours a day at least. They work 5 times harder than your average Smash player, and that is a fact. And top 100 or 200 was with the worst genetics. Imagine if you have even average genetics. You could probably make the top 50. Now, I'm sorry I'm not giving you guys any concrete answers about how much talent plays a role, but I hope my perspective at least gave you some insight into the topic. I honestly don't even think the scientific community has a concrete answer on this stuff. So yeah, I think it's actually a really complicated topic and I hope to one day get more information on it. Just some concluding thoughts here again, hard work definitely beats talent. If you work out 2 times a week, keep yourself clean, dress nice, work on something productive for like an hour a day, no matter how bad your genetics are, you're probably doing better than 95% of people. And again, I have experience with this. When I was like 5 or 6, I was so thin that I would faint and constantly go to the hospital. But look at me now, I'm in better shape than 99% of people, and even according to my BMI, I'm actually overweight. I had to do kindergarten twice because I was so socially inept and couldn't function without my parents around. Now I go to a university, all alone across the country. When I was younger, they said my motor skills were so bad that I wouldn't be able to drive. And now I have my license. All of the cards are stacked against me ever since day one, and I'm still kicking it. No, I haven't succeeded at everything, of course, and if I worked as hard as I did now, without these limitations, I probably would have gotten even further. But this is just to tell you that you can absolutely make it, even without good genetics. If I were to give you a percentage of how much genetics matter in Smash, I would say like maybe 10%. Anyways, to conclude here, hard work beats talent when talent fails to work hard. But a talented hard worker beats them all. That's all. Peace.